Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another edition of the Low Def Media Podcast. Basically, what I'm doing today is, this is part 2 in the podcasting series. I titled it "So You Want to Start a Podcast," and I'm drawing on my own experience to share with you. So hopefully, you don't make some of the mistakes that I've made and that I'm probably currently making right now. Now, last week I mentioned this cool device, the Konica preamp for XLR mics. I decided not to use this today. For those of you who, and that was probably very loud, for those of you who use a standard USB microphone, I'm using that today, and this is probably in the way. That's another probably miscue. Something you need to take into account when you're setting up your video podcast is, what's going to be in frame. Now, normally what I do is I will turn this desk that I have this connected to, turn this sideways so that the microphone comes in from the side. But, I wanted to show some of these, miscues, some of these things that can trip you up, obstacles, if you will, to help you in your journey so that maybe it'll enhance your podcast. Now, the video part may not be where you struggle. Maybe you don't videotape your podcast. Well, let's look at this. Today, I'm using my Blue Yeti microphone, and these are the headphones. These are some simple plug-in headphones that are connected directly to the microphone. And the reason why these are important is because it allows you to hear real time what is being recorded. So if your audio should stop, and I will tell you this, that using a Bluetooth microphone, this Blue Yeti, if I don't move this mouse ever so often, what'll happen is the computer will time out. And so it will go into power safe mode, and this won't have any power, and so it'll stop working. So little things like that. And so that's where these come in very handy, because now I can hear myself. And if I stop hearing myself, then I know I'm not being recorded. All right, so let's really quick break down this setup, just because that's what we do here on the Low Def Media Podcast channel. Like I mentioned earlier, Blue Yeti microphone here. I've got, I think this is a 5-fine. It's kind of like a mic guard pop filter. I like this one a little bit better than the foam one, just because it looks a little better, but I think the foam one probably works better. But you tell me, hit me up in the comments, let me know if you hear those plosives, the P's, the B's, D's. Let me know. I'm trying to stay fairly far away from the microphone. Now that has, again, for those of you who are still new to podcasting, that's a double-edged sword. Being farther away does prevent some of the peaking and some of those plosives. However, it does allow for some more echo because I'm not closer to the mic, so it's not picking me up first. I might get a little echo. Something to think about. I'm recording the video part on the webcam capture on Filmor 11. I will pair that with the audio that I'm recording in GarageBand. So I set those levels up first, and then I started both of them at the same time. I'll pair them together in post, and I'll have a very nice audio recording to mesh with my video. And then for my audio only podcast that I put out on Anchor, I will have a separate audio track that wasn't recorded in a video editor, that was recorded separately. So that's the setup. I am using a webcam today, and the only reason why I'm doing that is, again, for simplicity. Now, I could have recorded this through my iPhone. Let's take just a couple minutes to talk about the different options you have when recording your video. Now, you could record it on your iPhone, okay? That's very simple. The problem I have with that is I have to take it from here, I have to put it in my computer, Now that's easy enough. You can just do AirDrop and send it in there. But then I've got it here. All right, so now I have to manipulate the video, and I may or may not take care of that primary video here on my phone. And so then it's clogging up memory. Plus, when you're doing that, remember it's a phone, you can get texts, you can get emails, other notifications while you're doing your recording. So that becomes a little more cumbersome. There are other cameras that I could use, but then that involves taking the memory card out, putting it in the computer, downloading it. And while you get a much better image, for me today, it was all about simplicity. I connect this to the video editor, and then I've got my video right there for me to manipulate and edit. I just pair it with this, and it's very simple. So you decide how you want to, record both your audio and video. Whatever works best for you, whatever's easiest, that's what I recommend. Because remember back in our first episode or the first part of this series, you want to find something that you can duplicate, all right, that's repeatable. Because take my setup today. Totally different setup than what I had last week. And so setting up the Konica, that is a totally different process because it takes the XLR cables. This is a USB simple plug and play. So that's a different setup. Now, the sound quality may or may not be noticeable to most people. I would venture to say probably not noticeable because, like I've mentioned, in GarageBand, you can manipulate an audio track a fair amount. And so you can do a lot of enhancing. I've recorded podcasts with a microphone that's $100, with my F-Deuce microphone, which is technically $100, but they sell on sale for $69. Last week, I used the AKG C214, which is a $400 microphone. I've used USB microphones that I paid $5 for. And I even recorded one podcast using gaming headphones. So headphones with a microphone. Now those are extremely sensitive. So you really have to turn down the gain on that. But you're going to cut out a lot of the noise between you and the microphone because it's literally right there. So there are a lot of options, and you can make just about any microphone sound good. But today we're not talking about equipment. We talked about that last week. Today what we're going to talk about is how do you get people to view your podcast or to listen to your podcast. And I've got to be very honest with you, this is somewhere where I struggle because this is the part that is kind of out of your control, kind of. The content, the recording part, this is all in my control. Which microphone I use, which camera I use, which editor I use. All these things are very much in my control. My content, I decide what I want to talk about. I decide how I want to edit that and how I want to relay it to you. But once I record it and I put it out on the internet using whatever platform you decide to use, once that happens, then it's kind of out of your control. You have some ability to kind of manipulate it and influence people to listen to it, kind of guide them to your page. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So once you record it, you've got your podcast, and we'll just use audio for now. You've got your podcast, it's out there, and we'll use Anchor because that's what I use. And so you've got it out there, it's on Anchor. Now what? Very few people are going to be able to find your podcast on Anchor by itself. Now, the nice thing about Anchor is it does go out to Apple, to iMusic, I think they call it now, or Apple Music. So it's there. They do put it on Spotify. But again, thousands of podcasts on those platforms. So how do people find you? Social media. That is probably the best way to get people, to make people aware that you've got a podcast. Now, here's the struggle that I run into. I've got an Instagram account, and it's my personal account. Now, that's where I've got the most followers because I've been cultivating that page for almost since the inception of Instagram, so easily 5 years. So that's where I've got my highest number of followers. Now, I've got a Low Def Media Instagram page, which I highly encourage you to check out, but it doesn't have nearly the following. Okay, so that's a much slower process. Now, I do post on there anytime I put a video out on my YouTube page, and anytime I put a podcast up, I do advertise it on my Instagram page. But again, there's not a very large following there. So the larger audience is on my personal page. But, and this is where it gets tricky, because the people who are there, are they necessarily the people that I want watching or listening to my podcast? Would they get what I'm saying? Am I going to get pushback from them? Am I going to be judged for what I say? Because I know these people. These are the people that I will interact with. But the other people I don't know that will go out and watch my YouTube videos or will listen to my podcast, I don't know them. I will not engage in them. I will engage with them through a keyboard, through my computer, because they leave comments, but I won't see them. They don't know me. I don't know them. And so that's where it becomes tricky. And there are some people who are just very open. They're willing to put themselves out there, and that's who they are, and they will take whatever people send back to them when it comes to their content. I look at content creators on YouTube all the time, and I see the kind of content that they create. And then I think to myself, would I be able to do the same thing and have people tell me, hey, I saw your video the other day, and then give a critique, maybe a criticism. Maybe it's, a pat on the back. Maybe it's, hey, I really liked it, but, congratulations type response. But people by nature, I've found, are usually a little more critical because it's easier. It's easier to be critical. And so they look at it and they go, they could look at it and say, well, I don't agree with your opinion, or I don't know why you do this, or any number of criticisms. And so that's where it becomes tricky for me. Do I want to put myself in that position? And so I don't push my channels, my YouTube page or my podcast channel on my personal account as much as I should. And if I did that, and I look at other content creators, and they are out there, and every day they're submitting something on their Instagram page that pushes people to their YouTube, that pushes people to their podcast, because for them, that's who they are. That's what they do. But for me, this is not my full-time gig. This is a hobby. This is a passion. This is what I do on my spare time because I enjoy it. But this is not, I don't do this solely, and this is not how I derive an income or support myself. So for me, it's a little harder. But that doesn't change the fact that if you want your podcast to grow, that's where you have to go. I made a little rhyme there. I did make stickers, and my book here. This is my notebook that I do encourage anyone who's creating content to purchase. Just get a little notebook to jot down ideas. But I went out and got myself a little, some stickers so that I can put them on my notebook, my planner. So when people see it, I can tell them about it. Looking back now, I would probably include my link, how to find me. Next time I'll do a QR code so people can just scan that and be able to find my YouTube page. But those are the things that you really need to do those are the investments that you need to make in order to get a return on your podcast and for that to grow. And the other thing that's, again, outside of equipment is being consistent. Once you create that base, people need to know that they can get content from you or receive content from you regularly. Because if they like you enough to subscribe, then there's something in there that they appreciate, and they don't want it just the one time. They want to get it over and over. And so you need to be consistent. I know that there are content creators that will publish a video every Tuesday. And I've seen them go so far as to put a message out and say, hey, I won't be posting anything. I had something come up. It'll be Wednesday or Thursday, because they know their fan base is expecting to see that content on Tuesday. So consistency, have a plan. The other part of this process, and it's not one that I follow as well as I should. I know what I need to be doing. And that's another point, or that's another piece of this, is that hopefully by telling you, it reinforces to me that these are the things I should also be doing. But you need to come up with a plan, a structure. And so that let's just say you want to submit something every Wednesday. So once you submit it on Wednesday, then that Thursday and Friday, those are your idea days. Thursday, Friday, let's say Saturday, and then maybe Sunday and Monday you're recording and editing. Tuesday, you download it, and then if there are any problems, you've got time before Wednesday and it's done and it's due. So Tuesday, when you download it, what I would encourage you to do is post it, but post it on a schedule. In YouTube, I can tell it I'm gonna upload my video today, and an HD video takes a while to process. So rather than sit there and wait, what I'll do is I'll say, okay, I'm going to do it now, and I want it to go live tomorrow at 5 p.m. Then if there's any hiccups, if there are any copyright issues for music that I used, if something didn't load right, anything goes wrong, I've got time to fix it. So rather than wait till the day of, back it up a day, upload all your content on the day before, and then schedule it to be posted or to go live. Also, in YouTube, or on YouTube, they have a premiere. And so you can set it up where on your page, it'll show that thumbnail, and it'll say, have your thumbnail, and then down below it'll say premiere, and it'll let your audience know when that video is coming out so they can prepare for it. They can even set themselves a reminder through YouTube. So those are great things to do to set you up for success. So podcasting isn't complicated. Finding the content that's something you're passionate about, something you care about, something you enjoy, that's the easy part. Even recording it is pretty easy. Now, recording it in such a way that people want to listen to it over and over, that takes practice, and that's the part of the craft, and so you get better with time. All that part, the recording part, is the easy part. Getting people to find it, directing them to it, getting them to be excited about it, that's where the work comes in. And that's where you need to make yourself a little more uncomfortable, because comfort is where creativity goes to die. So push yourself, get to the edge of those limits, make yourself uncomfortable so that you can grow, and so can your channel. And I think you'll be surprised at the results. And I would really encourage you to provide some feedback. Let me know what your struggles are. Let me know where you've had successes so that we can share that with the other viewers or listeners who might also be watching this. And, they would like to hear from you. So again, very short podcast today. Just kind of completing this series, this little 2-part series on podcasting. I don't want to say I have all the answers, but I do a fair bit of research, and I have been doing this for a while. So there are things that I have come across that I would like to share with you, and it's by no means an end-all be-all list. It's not all-encompassing. It's just my little part of the world that I see. And so just sharing that with you. So I hope you got some value out of that. And if you did, do me a favor, download the podcast. That helps out the channel. Become a subscriber and provide some feedback, because, again, would love to hear from you and would love to share it with others here on the channel. So with that, hi, I'm Mike. This is the Low Def Media Podcast channel, and we look forward to seeing you in the next one.